He had the guts to think, you know, I'm not just going to win this, I'm going to catch him up and overtake him.
One of the greatest gold medal performances that I've ever seen.
Chris Boardman is the Olympic champion. What a fantastic display.
But Chris remained the unflappable model of British reserve and modesty.
Certainly pleasant, I was aware, but emotionally not the euphoria that I was expecting. I'm always a glass half empty kind of person.
Chris Boardman, cycling superhero. Not that he'd ever let it go to his head, mind. Gail Devers, all-American hero, sprint superstar, but above all, an Olympic inspiration. In 1988, she'd been diagnosed with Graves' disease, a thyroid problem which can lead to heart damage, strokes and blindness. After receiving radiation treatment, she was told by doctors she was lucky to survive.
She could have lost her feet, but she came back. Not only did she fight the disease, which was an achievement in itself, but she got herself back to Olympic-level fitness.
In 1992, just 19 months after being unable to stand up, she was back on the starting line for the 100 metres final.
You think an athlete who'd almost lost their feet would never come back to the sport, but she had some sort of fighting spirit in her who could quite realistically win a medal. It was amazing.
Davis Roberts going well on the inside, and it's very tight, and Davis Roberts, I think, got it in lane 2, and that's a big, big surprise.
She overcomes this incredible, almost terminal illness, comes back to the Olympics and wins a gold medal. It's a great moment in sport.
Gail Devers, Olympic champion and one of life's survivors. Next, we have the story of a man who wasn't satisfied with being the best at one discipline. He wanted to be the best at 10. It's known as the toughest event of them all, the decathlon. 10 different disciplines, each of them more demanding, challenging and harder than the one that came before. Yes, thank you, Dean. This isn't about you. This is about the other fella, the one with the moustache.
The crowd already applauding the greatest all-round athlete in the world.
At the 1980 Games in Moscow, Daley Thompson stormed to gold in the decathlon.
Thompson, the Olympic champion.
And a sporting icon was born, inspiring our nation's children and facial hair habits. But it was in Los Angeles 4 years later that the man with the tash that made Hulk Hogan look like a schoolgirl cemented himself in the British psyche.
Yes! Oh, it's a big throw!
But could his performance match his personality and allow him to win a second successive gold and become a legend?
Yes!
It's rock and roll.
He was like a living, breathing action man.
Like a Swiss Army athlete, he can just do everything. He's amazing.
He's dancing in the circle.
Daley Thompson was a rock star in the 80s, okay? He was my hero. Every boy in every school in the 80s loved and worshipped Daley Thompson.
World champion and now twice Olympic champion, and there's no one in the world that can match that record.
He did it, making history and giving the nation one of its greatest Olympic moments, winning not only his second gold in the decathlon, but also smashing the world record in the process.
It was a fantastic performance, showcasing the full range of his skills, his strength, his agility.
Daley and his mighty moustache could do nothing but make headlines. Whether it was on the track or on the podium, whistling the national anthem rather than singing it.
He probably nailed it. Like, if you listen, he's probably doing some complex harmony.
I don't think that was him trying to be rude, I think that's just his rebellious side.
Nobody does it better.
There's no denying there's no one quite like Daley Thompson.
He was the best that we've had, and I think probably the greatest Olympian ever still. He's still rock and roll. I mean, I've been to numerous black tie events. Daley rocks up in a tracksuit and you just think, what's he doing? But then, do you know what? He's Daley Thompson, he can.
The triple jump, one of the select Olympic sports that Britain chooses to excel at. Jonathan Edwards left a marker in the sand when he took the gold in Sydney in 2000. So naturally, in 2004, all eyes were on his successor, Philip Soduru, as he sought gold at the Athens Games.
Philip Soduru is the only guy that has ever taken to any sport and I've sat there and gone, whoa, who's this player?
But it didn't quite go to plan.
Oh, he's got a red flag.
Oh. He's a great athlete, he wins medals. However, on this day, awful.
Everyone can freeze up just before that big moment. I'm sure there's many men and that big moment's about to happen and they can't quite rise to the challenge.
Phillips' second attempt really needs to get a jump in here.
We can forgive anyone a single mistake, but two's taking the mickey.
He's got a red flag and now he is in real trouble.
You've been training for years. How are you getting this wrong time after time?
He had one more chance to get it right.
And he's found that as well. And Phillips Soduru is out of the Olympic triple jump.
3 times. Nothing. That's your event. That's what you train for. Nothing.
Having a complete mirror in front of the whole stadium, let alone the rest of the world that are watching, it must be pretty difficult to take.
Where'd you go from here?
Home.
It was more than a bad hair day in Athens, but 4 years later, Phillips picked up a silver in Beijing and has maintained his progress since. So just how will he fare in London? And how will he be styling his hair?
When he gets the jump and he nails it, he's unbeatable.
2012, he's going to get gold. Don't let us down, big guy.
For all the glory of the Olympics, sometimes there are athletes who do their best, but their best simply isn't good enough.
That's right, Richard. You can have bucket loads of determination, but without talent, you're never going to climb on top of that medal podium.
No, and for those athletes, they may as well have just stayed at home.
Do you mean like Eddie the Eagle?
No, Colin. I mean Eric the Eel. Here's ski jumper Eddie in his prime.
We love an underdog in this country. People trying their best, but ultimately never winning anything.
But in Sydney's Aquatic Centre, we were introduced to another Olympic underdog that blew even Eddie the Eagle out of the water and will forever burn on in our memory.
Representing Equatorial Guinea, Eric Moussambani.
After his 2 competitors got disqualified for false starts, Equatorial Guinea's Eric Moussambani found himself as the sole swimmer in an early heat. Unbeknown to the watching millions, Eric had only learnt to swim 8 months before and had never even got his trunks wet in an Olympic-sized pool. All his training was done in a tiny 20-metre hotel pool.
Eric the Eel was a man who essentially could barely swim.
All was going okay, but then someone told him he had to go back again.
The first length, he gets through it, but on the way back, the guy's knackered.
He was racing no one, and yet still he almost didn't finish it.
This guy doesn't look as though he's going to make it.
I'm on the side of the pool doing interviews, and I swear I thought I was going to have to go in and get him.
There is a possibility he's not going to make it to the end of the 100 metres race. Slowly but surely, the Aussies in the crowd start getting behind him.
Adrian, I'm not sure he's going to make it, is he?
No, he is. This is the Olympics. He's got 17,000 people shouting for him.
There was a bit at the end when you're watching going, oh, dude, please make it. You don't want to be the first Olympics where we send a lifeguard in to save you.
Eric Moussambani wins Heat 1 of the men's 100 metres freestyle.
He dived into the pool as Eric Moussambani, but climbed out as Eric the Eel, as he finally managed to under-doggy paddle his way to victory in a record-breaking slowest time of 1 minute and 53 seconds.
I'm feeling good. I am happy.
The swimming pool facilities must be very, very poor, but you'd think maybe if there isn't a pool, just take advantage of some of the hundreds of miles of coastline.
In the next few years, Eric was keen to show the world that the eel was the real deal. But sadly, the Equatorial Guinea government wouldn't grant him a visa to travel to Athens 4 years later. What did they know, Eric?
It was a great moment. It was, again, one of those things that, you know, makes the Olympics special.
Martin Luther King had a dream, Gabrielle had a dream, and I have a strange recurring dream involving lots of little rabbits. But at the 1992 Olympics, it was a dream team that stole the show, with the US men's basketball squad storming to gold.
So perhaps the most predictable gold medal of the entire 25th Olympiad.
They were called a dream team because they were basically a team of superstars.
These guys were the best players on the planet.
Magic Johnson, Larry Bird,
Charles Barkley,
Michael Jordan, greatest basketball player of all time.
And you had at least another 5 huge names in the States.
That kind of team, if you assembled it when you were on the PlayStation or the Xbox, put it together, you'd think you were cheating.
But it wasn't cheating, because for the first time ever, stars from the NBA were allowed to compete at the Olympic Games.
Imagine if, like, today's Barcelona football team went and played in the Scottish League. That's how superior they were.
Oh, this is exhibition stuff even this early on by the USA.
It was the sporting equivalent of Paris Hilton taking on Stephen Hawking in a Mensa test, and the results were inevitable.
The US almost toying with the Lithuanians.
They just annihilated absolutely everyone.
Oh, I say!
It was pretty much like the Harlem Globetrotters. Every game they were just showing off and taking the mickey.
Once again the US fast break and Jordan with the slam.
They beat every team by an average of like 40-something points. It was ridiculous how easy it was for them.
It was men against boys stuff, albeit the boys were still freakishly tall. Croatia were the opposition in the final, with the US scoring 117 points en route to victory.
I mean, come on, you can't have 5 top athletic black guys against a team of 5 white dudes from Croatia in a game that involves running fast and jumping high.
Oh, round the back. Over for Mullen. Back for Johnson. Wonderful stuff.
You know who's going to win that.
It's all over. The result by no means a surprise. The performance as expected. Magic Johnson and the USA, the dream team, the Olympic champions.